She sat across from me and slid a piece of paper onto the desk. Lab results. Her hands were shaking slightly, not from fear but from frustration. "I've been doing everything right for 2 years," she said. "I eat clean, I work out 5 days a week, I take my supplements, and my doctor just told me my liver looks worse than it did last year." She was 43. She was exhausted, and she was doing almost everything her body was silently asking her to stop. I want to talk to you today about something that affects roughly 1 in 3 women over the age of 35 in the Western world, and most of them have absolutely no idea it's happening until their body starts sending signals they can no longer ignore. Signals like persistent bloating that never fully goes away, a kind of heavy, dull fatigue that hits around 2 or 3 in the afternoon no matter how well you slept, weight that sits stubbornly around your midsection and refuses to move even when you're doing everything right, and brain fog, that frustrating sense that your thinking is slower, cloudier, less sharp than it used to be. All of these can be signs of a liver that is overwhelmed, and I want to be really clear about something right from the start. This is not about what you've done wrong. This is about understanding what your body is actually doing and why. Because once you understand that, everything changes, the confusion lifts, the self-blame goes away, and you start making choices that actually work with your biology instead of accidentally fighting against it. My name is Maria, and I work with women every week who come to me having tried everything the internet told them to try. And the reason I'm making this video is because what most people are told about fatty liver is incomplete. It's surface-level advice that treats the symptom without ever explaining the cause, and you deserve better than that. So let's actually go deep today. Your liver is about the size of a football. It sits under your right rib cage, just beneath your diaphragm, and it is, without exaggeration, the hardest working organ in your body. It performs over 500 distinct functions every single day. It filters your blood. It produces bile, that thick golden fluid your body uses to digest fats. It stores and releases glucose to keep your blood sugar stable. It breaks down hormones after they've done their job, including estrogen. And it neutralizes everything that shouldn't be in your bloodstream: medications, environmental toxins, alcohol, artificial additives, and yes, excess sugar. Now here's where it gets interesting. When your liver is healthy, it handles all of this smoothly. Think of it like a very efficient sorting facility. Packages come in, they get processed, sorted, and sent to the right destination. Everything flows. But when the liver gets overwhelmed, when too many packages arrive faster than the facility can process them, things start backing up. And what does an overwhelmed liver do with the overflow? It converts the excess, particularly excess fructose and refined carbohydrates, into fat, and it stores that fat right there, inside its own cells. That's what fatty liver disease actually is. It's not a character flaw. It's not laziness. It's a liver that has been running at overcapacity for so long that it started using itself as storage, and once fat accumulates in more than 5% of the liver's cells, that's the clinical threshold, the organ begins to function less efficiently across the board. Its ability to filter toxins slows. Its ability to metabolize hormones slows. Its ability to regulate blood sugar weakens. And because the liver is involved in fat metabolism throughout the entire body, the fat-burning process in your muscles and your belly starts breaking down too. This is why women with fatty liver often describe feeling like their body is holding on to weight for dear life. Because in a very real biological sense, it is. Your liver controls an enzyme called lipoprotein lipase. I know it's a mouthful, so let's just call it the gatekeeper. When your liver is healthy, this gatekeeper directs the fat you eat toward your muscles, where it gets burned as energy. But when your liver is overwhelmed, the gatekeeper shifts strategy. It starts routing that fat to your abdominal area instead, specifically to the deep visceral fat that wraps around your organs. It does this because your body interprets a struggling liver as a signal of environmental danger, famine perhaps, or threat. And in those conditions, storing energy close to your vital organs makes evolutionary sense. The problem, and this is the part that nobody explains clearly enough, is that your body cannot distinguish between actual famine and the kind of chronic low-grade stress that most women over 35 live with every single day. Work pressure, sleep deprivation, a glass of wine most evenings, a diet that looks healthy on the surface but is quietly flooding the liver with more fructose than it can process. And here's the one that surprises almost everyone: intense exercise on top of an already stressed liver. I want to sit with that for a moment because I know how counterintuitive it sounds. Exercise is supposed to be good for you, and it is, under the right conditions. But when your liver is already running in crisis mode, high-intensity cardio doesn't feel like fitness to your body. It feels like being chased. It triggers a significant cortisol spike. Cortisol is your primary stress hormone. And here's the thing that most trainers don't tell you. The deep visceral belly fat has up to 4 times more cortisol receptors than the soft fat under your skin. So when cortisol goes up, that deep belly fat doesn't mobilize and burn, it locks down tighter. Your body is literally responding to your workout by saying, "Hold everything. This is an emergency. Protect the reserves." This is not a reason to stop moving. It is a reason to understand the difference between movement that heals and movement that adds to the load your liver is already carrying. And we'll get to that. If you're finding this helpful and you want to keep learning about how your body actually works, not the oversimplified version but the real thing, please subscribe and hit the like button. I put out a new video every week, and the community that's grown around this channel is genuinely one of the most thoughtful groups of people I've come across. You're in good company here. Now let's talk about what actually drives fatty liver in women specifically, because there are some factors that are underappreciated and really important to understand. After 35, estrogen levels begin to shift. They don't just drop, they fluctuate, sometimes dramatically, before they eventually decline. And estrogen, it turns out, has a protective relationship with the liver. Research published in the Journal of Hepatology has shown that estrogen actually helps regulate how the liver processes fat. It supports the liver's ability to export fat out of its cells rather than letting it accumulate. So as estrogen becomes less stable, the liver loses some of that protective buffer. This is one of the reasons fatty liver develops much more frequently in women after perimenopause than before it. But here's something equally important. The liver is responsible for deactivating and clearing used estrogen from your bloodstream. When the liver is congested and sluggish, it can't do this efficiently. The estrogen doesn't get cleared properly, it recirculates. And elevated or imbalanced estrogen creates its own set of problems: heavier periods, increased water retention, breast tenderness, mood swings, and yes, more fat storage, particularly around the hips, thighs, and belly. So you end up with this frustrating loop where a struggling liver worsens hormone balance, and imbalanced hormones further stress the liver. Round and round it goes. I see this pattern constantly. Women come in convinced they have a hormone problem. They've already tried hormone-related interventions that haven't fully worked, and when we look deeper, the root issue is liver function. Once we address the liver, the hormonal symptoms start to improve on their own. So what does actually help? Let me walk you through what the evidence supports and what I've seen work in practice. The first and most impactful shift is addressing the morning fructose load, and I want to explain this carefully because it challenges something a lot of health-conscious women believe deeply. Fructose is the specific type of sugar found in fruit, honey, agave, and most processed sweeteners. Unlike glucose, which every cell in your body can use for energy, fructose can only be metabolized by one organ, your liver. That's it. No other organ handles it. Now, overnight while you sleep, your liver is in its active repair and detoxification phase. It's working hard, processing the day's accumulation of waste products, repairing cell damage, preparing bile for the next morning. When you wake up and immediately drink a large fruit smoothie, even one made with genuinely healthy fruit, you are flooding an organ that hasn't finished its overnight work yet with a concentrated dose of the one substance that only it can process. Your liver essentially has to drop everything, abandon the cleanup, and deal with the fructose. And when it's already backed up, it takes the fastest route available. It converts that fructose directly into fat. This is not a reason to never eat fruit. Fruit is wonderful. Fiber slows fructose absorption, And eating whole fruit later in the day when your liver has finished its morning work is completely different from drinking concentrated fruit juice or a smoothie first thing in the morning. The timing matters more than most people realize. And then you need the fiber, specifically soluble fiber, which forms a gel-like substance in your digestive tract that binds to bile acids and carries them all the way out of your body. 2 tablespoons of ground flaxseed daily is enough to make a significant difference. Cooked cruciferous vegetables, broccoli, cauliflower, Brussels sprouts, provide both soluble fiber and sulfur-containing compounds that directly support the liver's detoxification pathways. Think of the fiber as the net. You've mobilized the waste, now you need to catch it before it escapes back into the bloodstream. There's one more piece I want to talk about, and it might be the most underestimated of all: sleep quality and what happens in your liver between 1 and 3 in the morning. This is not a metaphor or an approximation. According to traditional Chinese medicine, and interestingly, backed by some modern chronobiology research, the liver enters its peak regenerative phase in the early hours of the morning. Your body releases the majority of its repair hormones during deep sleep. The liver uses this window to regenerate damaged cells, synthesize new proteins, and process the inflammatory compounds that accumulated during the day. If you're not reaching deep sleep, or if your sleep is fragmented, this repair window gets cut short. Your liver wakes up every morning slightly more behind than the day before. The primary trigger for deep sleep and liver repair is melatonin, your sleep hormone, and the primary destroyer of melatonin production is blue light from screens. Staring at a phone or laptop in the hour before bed suppresses melatonin for up to 90 minutes after you put it down. You fall asleep, but you don't reach the depth of sleep your liver needs. Switching off screens by 10:30 is one of the highest leverage things you can do for liver health, and I know that sounds like a strange statement, but it's genuinely true. And 30 minutes before bed, a small glass of water with tart cherry juice is one of the few natural dietary sources of melatonin. It also contains anthocyanins, anti-inflammatory compounds that cross into liver tissue and reduce cellular inflammation directly. You're giving your liver the signal it needs to start the night shift. When you put all of this together, the morning routine, the movement, the bile support, the fiber, the sleep, something shifts relatively quickly. Not because you found a magic formula, but because you've stopped sending your liver signals of danger and started sending it signals of safety. And a liver that feels safe doesn't hoard fat, it processes it, it clears it, it lets it go. I want to be honest with you about something, though. This takes consistency over time, not perfection for 10 days. The women I work with who see the most lasting change are not the ones who do everything flawlessly for 2 weeks and then go back to their old habits. They're the ones who understand the why deeply enough that the changes start to feel natural. They stop drinking the morning smoothie not because they're following a rule, but because they understand what it was doing to their liver. And that understanding changes. That's the shift I want for you. Not more rules on top of more rules. A genuine understanding of what's happening inside your body so that every decision you make is informed by real knowledge rather than guilt or confusion or the latest trend that worked for someone else. Before I wrap up, I want to ask you something, and I genuinely want to know, what's one thing you've been doing consistently in the name of health that you now wonder might actually be working against you? Write it in the comments. I read every single one, and sometimes the most powerful conversations start right there. Your liver is not your enemy. It is not failing you. It is doing exactly what it was designed to do under the conditions it's been given. The moment you change those conditions, the moment you give it the support, the timing, the rest, and the nutrients it actually needs, it will start to recover. And when the liver recovers, everything else tends to follow. The energy comes back, the bloating resolves, the weight that's been sitting there for years starts to shift. Not because you forced it, but because your body finally feels safe enough to let it go. If this video gave you a new way of understanding what your body is doing, please share it with someone who needs to hear it. And subscribe, because next week we're going to go even deeper into the hormone-liver connection, and specifically how to support your body through perimenopause in a way that actually works with your biology. I'll see you there.